Bitcoin is absolutely ripping. We crossed over $57,000 this morning. And when you start to look at the underlying data, it is telling us that it is likely to go much, much higher through the end of the year. When we actually look at the first chart that we have here, Bitcoin over $57,500, it's up about 4% today. The first thing that jumps out to me when we look at these charts is that now a 4% move in Bitcoin means that Bitcoin is moving thousands of dollars in a single day. Likely we will start to see 10% movements as well, but a 4% leap, much, much more volatile than anything else in this chart. S&P, gold, silver, euro, yen, renminbi, or the oil. Now, on top of this, people always argue that Bitcoin is too volatile. That is one of the critiques from the critics. But what they failed to mention is that Bitcoin's volatility works in both directions. If you are holding Bitcoin and Bitcoin is volatile to the downside, it hurts you. It's a negative. But if you are holding Bitcoin and Bitcoin is volatile to the upside, the volatility is your friend. And that's what we're watching right here. $2,227 increase in the price of Bitcoin over the last 24 hours. Volatility is good when it goes in your favor. When we start to look at the actual underlying metrics of the network, you can see the Bitcoin market cap is over $1 trillion, $1.08 trillion as of this morning. On top of that, the inflation rate still is at 1.78%, well below the Fed's target of 2% in the US dollar system. The supply issued 89.7%. Bitcoin settlement volume has topped $11 billion. One day last week, Bitcoin saw over $30 billion settled on chain. Pretty impressive. It was an all-time high. Still, though, in the double-digit tens of billions of dollars for on-chain settlement. The real exchange volume, right around $8 billion, over 800,000 active addresses. And then the miners absolutely coming in with a monster number. Miners have been paid $52.5 million in the last 24 hours to secure the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network is the strongest, most decentralized computer network in the world. And the reason why so many people are putting their computing power on the Bitcoin network to secure it, to validate transactions, and to ensure the stable, sustainable, resilient network is because there's a $52 million daily reward right now for anyone who's doing that. Pretty incredible. When we then go and we look at Bitcoin compared to the S&P and gold, we can see that Bitcoin is now up over 400% in the last year. It's up over 8,900% in the last 5 years, and it is up over 1.4 million% over the last 10 years. Now, when you compare Bitcoin's 400% increase to gold, gold is down 9% on a nominal basis, which means that gold is actually down on a real return basis 14%. Bitcoin up over 400%, gold down 14% when you look at the real return basis. And so Bitcoin has absolutely taken the place of gold as an inflation hedge asset, and institutional and retail investors have dumped gold over the last 12 months, even though the macro environment called for interest rate manipulation down and also historic level of quantitative easing. When we look at the S&P 500, a 25% gain, more than 2x the national average, or the historic average, 25% being 2x what normally would occur, but still dwarfed in comparison to Bitcoin at over 400%. When we look at the Bitcoin price and the closing history, this is one of the most interesting things right now, is that Bitcoin's price has only been higher than 57,500 29 days of its entire existence, which is 0.62% of its entire life since January 3rd, 2009. And so if you bought Bitcoin 99.38% of Bitcoin's life and you held it till today, your purchasing power has appreciated. Compared to other assets where the purchasing power, other currencies where the purchasing power decreases, Bitcoin's purchasing power has increased over the last 12 years or so. And so 99.38%, I don't do public math, but I think that's right, of the time Bitcoin's purchasing power has increased. When we look at the Bitcoin versus other assets like gold, S&P 500, NASDAQ, or treasuries, we also can see that the ROI, again, 400%, you can see things like TLT is down 11.6%, which is pretty crazy. The compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin today comes in over the last 10 years at 161%. 161% compounded annually for a decade. Absolute monster numbers. And then if you look at the Sharpe ratios over 1 and 5 years, Bitcoin dominating the rest of the financial markets, absolutely destroying anything else. Bitcoin has proven to become that apex predator of financial markets. But Bitcoin is not only a financial asset, something that you buy and hope for financial performance. Michael Saylor over the weekend had a great tweet that really explained and highlighted the value of Bitcoin. He said Bitcoin is superior due to engineering, not tribalism. The protocol is better suited to organic growth of a decentralized network with integrity and security across political jurisdictions. The stability of the base layer drives faster innovation in the application layers above. And so Bitcoin is not just an asset that you can buy and hold, a global store of value, something that is censorship resistant, but it is also a payment rail and a decentralized platform of which applications will be built on top of it. We've seen everything from the Lightning Network to other applications. But what Michael is specifically talking about here is the engineering superiority, the ability for it to be suited for organic growth, a decentralized network with integrity and security across any jurisdiction. It solely exists in cyberspace, in the virtual economy, somewhere that is not tied to a physical jurisdiction. And the stability of the base layer drives that faster innovation of anything that is built on top of it. Now, it is, of course, well understood that people in the retail market, people in the financial market, and also folks who have been building in and around the Bitcoin and crypto industry understand this asset, they understand how it works, and they understand what the financial elements of it are. But one person that you probably would not expect to really understand it is politicians. And what we saw last week at the Texas Blockchain Summit was Ted Cruz standing on stage or sitting on stage giving a talk about Bitcoin. And he had very articulate take. Nick Carter went ahead and transcribed the entire talk. But what I wanted to do is I want to call out a very specific part. At one point, Ted Cruz said, it's a weird point. A lot of the discussion around Bitcoin views Bitcoin as a consumer of energy. A lot of the criticism directed at it is the consumption of energy. The perspective I'm suggesting is very much the reverse, which is a way to strengthen our energy infrastructure. And it also has one of the most exciting things about crypto is the ability to unlock stranded renewables. So there are a lot of places on Earth where the sun shines a lot and the wind blows a lot, but there aren't any power lines. And so it's not economically feasible to use that energy. And the beauty of Bitcoin mining is that if you can connect to the internet, you can use that energy and derive value from those renewables in a way that would be impossible otherwise. And I think we're going to see in the next 5 years massive innovations in that regard as well. It is incredible to see a sitting politician articulate Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and its interfacing with the energy grid in such a great way. He obviously understands the value of Bitcoin mining, and he sees how Bitcoin is not simply a high consumer of electricity, but rather Bitcoin can serve as a great catalyst for growth, investment, and build out of energy infrastructure. And so whether you are looking at Bitcoin as a financial asset, whether you're looking at it as an engineering feat, or whether you are looking at it as its positive impact on the energy grid or other parts of our non-Bitcoin lives, what you start to understand is we are watching an asset grow from the corners of the internet into the mainstream to be repriced by markets and to capture the imagination of the entire world. That is what Bitcoin is doing right before us. And people are looking and saying, hey, it went up a little bit, it went down a little bit, but they're losing the bigger picture. Bitcoin has now reached the mainstream, and we are likely to continue to see a drastic increase in the adoption of the asset, not only from individual investors, not only from institutions like financial institutions and corporations, and not only from nation states like El Salvador and maybe Brazil and others, but Bitcoin is also becoming an asset that is penetrating every industry on Earth. We're seeing the oil and gas, the capitalism of America start to embrace this, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.